Hello everyone, I want to make a little mini journal for the Let's Journal prompt in the Facebook group, the Mixed Media Emporium, and for anybody who wants to follow along with our prompts and challenges, I'll leave the link to the group in the description box below. Now this is a painting I made last week, and I'll leave the link to the video in the description box. I was trying out some DD to Praise watercolours, and I just absolutely love how this turned out, and I couldn't decide last week whether I was going to cut it up and use it for journaling cards or card toppers, or indeed turn it into a journal, which is what I've decided to do. And I've come up with a plan. I want to use this as sort of like a mini art journal using water soluble products, so watercolours, water soluble crayons, wax crayons and all of that kind of thing. But what I want to do to start off with, I need to cover the inside of this, because obviously I made a mess whilst I was doing my watercolouring last week, and I've cut out torn out another piece of paper the same size as this one here. I was using some of the pages from this Arteza sketchbook here. I wasn't very impressed with this because I found that the signatures came apart and there was sort of like a lot of gaps, but I do want to use up the paper because there is nothing wrong with it. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to take this off to the paper trimmer, and I'm just going to line these up like this. You can see that there's a bit of a discrepancy in the size of the pages, and I am just going to take an absolute smidge off the top. Now I'm just going to clip this together just to make sure that the pages don't move, and then let's line this up. And I'm just going to use my paper trimmer, as I've said, to take just a small slice. Let me just make sure that this is lined up at the sides as well. So I hope this paper trimmer here is going to work. I'm going to start in the middle and then take it from side to side, just so that I get a nice even cut. So as you can see, the pieces of paper fit both sides. So I'm just going to glue these on. I'm going to use a mixture of 3-in-1 Collal glue and a glue stick. So let's start off with this one here. I want this has got a smooth side and a textured side. I want the textured side showing, so I'm going to apply plenty of glue stick. I could of course use glue tape, but with glue tape there's absolutely no wiggle room, and you know, I might need to adjust this slightly. So and glue stick doesn't warp because it's a dry glue, so that's my glue of choice. Let's also have some Collal glue. I'm just going to put a bit around the outside. There we go, we're in business again. So I'm just going to put a bead all the way around the edges and a bit in the middle as well. And then let's stick this onto here. And you see we've got a bit of wiggle room. So there we have it, and I'm just going to grab a clean piece of paper and just burnish this down over the top. Here we go, we've got a J cloth, so I'm just going to make sure that I burnish that down to make sure that it's well and truly glued, and I'll do the same to the other side of the cover as well. I've had this weighted down underneath a heavy book, so that's what that looks like. You can see that I did get a little bit of glue just on the top here, but that doesn't matter because with the binding method that I've decided to use, you won't see it anyway. Now I've also pulled out 3 sheets of paper from that Arteza pad. Now this is the smooth side, and we also have a textured side as well. So by the time I've cut these down to fit my cover, I'll have a smooth and a rough side to paint on, which I thought would be quite nice, and I will just have 6 sheets of paper to fill, which I think is just a nice number, not too overwhelming. And I'm just going to take these individually, and I'm just going to use a pencil which I had a second ago, and of course now that I've come to use it has vanished. Here we are, and I'm just going to draw a line so that I know where to cut, and I'll do that with each of these sheets of paper. So bring back the paper trimmer, and as I've said, I'm just going to go slightly inside of that that line, and I'll do that with all of my sheets. And there we have it. That's turned out absolutely perfectly. You can't see my papers poking out of the top, which is good. So I'm just going to clip this together, because what I want to do now is just punch some holes in the top, because I'm going to be using a couple of brads just to secure my booklet together, which means that I'll be able to take my pages out. Now, dare I eyeball this? Will it go through even? So I think I want one there, and then I just want to eyeball it so that we've got the same space the other side. Can you see what I'm doing? There we have it. And then I can just pop these through and just splay them at the back. In fact, what I'll do first is take one sheet out, because I want to paint on one just now. So we'll take the one off the top, and then we can pop this back in just so that you can see what it's going to look like. And I can just splay these out. So a really easy journal to put together that allows you to paint loose leaf. So there we have it. That's what it looks like on the back. I get asked all the time as well for ideas for binding loose leaf journals. Now, of course, I could take a bone folder and make a crease at the top so that all the pages fold out, but I think I'm just going to leave it there for the time being. One thing I do want to do, because we've got this gold flower, is use my Premium Prime Premio pen just to add some gold all the way around the outside, just because these pages are flush. So I now have my journal complete with gold around the edges. I'm really happy with how that looks. So let's try a painting. And for anybody who's wondering, yes, I did remember to go around this page with gold paint. I've decided I'm going to use the textured side. I don't know, I just prefer working on textured paper. So I'm just going to place my stencil here, not too far to the top. And I'm just going to use a piece of washi tape just to hold this down. And then I've got myself a mechanical pencil, and I'm just going to really lightly and loosely just sketch around here. I'm going to go around the leaves to start off with, because I might change the design just ever so slightly, holding it in place as well so that it doesn't lift. Now you can see that my stencil is too long, so I'm going to stop before I get to the bottom, just so that I can just adapt it to fit my page. Let's just go around these little circles here, just doing the leaves and the circles to start off with. Another one of the leaves here, and I'm not pressing too hard. Now I'm going to stop here because, of course, this is just too long. Now what I want to do, oh, I've missed one here, is just fill in some of these lines, just so that I've got the structure of my painting. So that's what my design looks like. Now I just want to add some shape to the bottom of my leaves, join that one up. Being really sketchy about this. Join that up, and I think that looks quite good. So let's see if I can do anything half decent with this painting. I'm going to start off by doing the background, and I'm going to use my number 8 Fumui brush. I've got a couple of jars of water here. I don't know whether you can see them. I've got my camera quite low, so I hope that I'm not going to bump it. Now, colour-wise, what do I want to do? I want to put some of this ochre colour down. I've just got a plastic plate. Just a cheap plastic picnic type of plate, and I'm going to put a couple of yellows down and maybe a bit of green as well, and I just want to mix myself a background colour. That's a bit dark, so I'm going to add a bit more of the yellow. And I'm going to really water this down. I don't want it to be too dark. And I am just going to go all over my background. And I know that the back's going to get really messy, and you know, so be it. So let's add a bit more water. And I'm going straight over my pencil marks. Perhaps I want it to be a bit darker, maybe in one of the corners. I don't know, maybe add a bit more water again. Just try and get it to the colours to vary, just so that it's not too boring. I'm going to splotch it with my paintbrush like this, just to try and get a bit of texture. Now I've got one of these Tresemme hair dryers. I'm quite happy with that, and because this hairdryer here is such a low temperature model, I haven't really got a great deal of buckling, and it's still very slightly damp, so I think that will flatten out nicely. Now I need to decide what colour I want to paint my leaves and these little berries, and I think I'm going to come in with some blues. Nobody said that this had to be realistic in any kind of way, and I just absolutely love these colours here. I've got this kind of inky greeny blue here. I absolutely love this colour here. And of course these are my DD Dupre's watercolours that I use to decorate the cover of my journal. So I'll leave the link to those watercolours in the description box below. They were ones that I had from Temu, but I do believe that AliExpress sell them as well. And then we've got this inky blue, and I might even mix it with some of this yellow as well. I want to really water that down. I don't want that to be quite that dark. So let's try this. I'm going to reach for a smaller paintbrush as well. That one there I think is a bit big. I've just got a J cloth here to the side that I'm using to wipe off my brush. Let me just rearrange myself so that I can fit everything on for you to see. I've decided I'm going to paint the leaves with this number 4 brush. I think the 8 that I was using before would be way too big. And I'm just going to start off by adding some of this inky blue to start off with. Let's try some of the green, and I'm just going to try one leaf to start off with, just to see how I like it. I've probably got too much water on here, so let's just dab some of that off. I also want to add some of this in here as well, and let's let that bleed down. You see, I like how that looks. So I'm going to continue doing all of my leaves like that. So going in with the darker colour first, dabbing my brush off, then adding the lighter colour, dabbing my brush off. I'm not adding any more water here either. And then just using that lovely ochre colour and just letting that blend. Now on a couple of these, I'm just mixing the colours up a bit. For instance, these two here, I just used the blue, the dark blue and the green, and I didn't add any of the yellow. Let's do the same with this one. Just experimenting here just to see how these colours play together. Let's rinse that off, and then with this one I just use the dark blue and the yellow. Let's just bring in some of the yellow this time and see how those mingle. So I'm just going to keep playing. So next up I want to do my berries, and I want to use this colour here, which is this one. So let's add a bit of that to my palette. I haven't got many of them, so I don't need a great deal. So let's use that. And I want to use this with a fairly dry brush. I don't want it to be too wet. So let's get my brush into a nice point. And let's do the berries. Yeah, you see that's a nice colour. Now I feel as if I need another leaf here. I don't know, it just looks as if something is missing. And I'm going to try my hand at at freehanding this. Oh gosh, don't screw this up, Nina. And I have altered the shape of a couple of the other leaves as well. Let's add some of the yellow in there as well. Yeah, and I think that just looks a little bit more balanced to me now. I need to add my stems next. So what colour shall I add for that? Let's just bring in some clean water. I definitely want to use some of these darker greens here. And I'm just going to add that into the bluey green that I've already got. In fact, it would be wise to move my painting out of the way, knowing how clumsy I am. You see, that one there looks a lot more sparkly. I think I want to add some blue to that as well, just to make it a bit darker. Yeah, you see, I like that colour, and maybe I could add a bit of the olive green as well. Yeah, I think that's more of the colour that that I'm after. So hang on, let's just bring my painting back. Do I want to add a bit of black as well? Have we got a black here? We haven't, so maybe I'll just add a bit more of that darker blue, just so that I've got more of a contrast with my leaves. Let's add a bit of water to that, and I'm just going to, in fact, do I want to use a thinner paintbrush? I think I might. So this one here is a number 0. I can always go back to the number 2 if I feel that this is a little bit too thin. So I'm just going to add myself my stems, trying to be a bit loose and scribbly about this. I've decided to pull out my 0.1 Marvin Cheetah drawing pen, and I just want to add just a few very fine lines, not everywhere. Maybe add a few details like this. I don't want this to be absolutely everywhere, but just where perhaps the blends aren't quite right on the edges. Of course, you know, this is one of my first attempts to do something like this, and this is a learning curve for me. But hopefully, you know, by the time I've filled all of my pages, I'll be able to see a significant improvement in my painting skills. So here is my first page ready to go back into my journal. I haven't added too much black, just enough. I didn't want to go completely overboard with that. You can see that my paper is now nice and flat. I did put it in between a piece of deli paper and weighted it down underneath a heavy book just for about 5 or 10 minutes or so, that's all. Now I have decided that I do want to score my pages, but I want to do them as I go along. So I'm just going to score this one and this one, just so that the pages are totally flat for when I come to work on them. So you can see I've just scored at 1.5 centimetres on both of these pages, and so now they'll lift up. You can see that this is messy on the back. That doesn't bother me. It's an art journal at the end of the day. So let's put my little brads back in. I think this is a great way to keep them together, but you know, it's really easy for me to take them out to work on them. So let me just show you what that looks like, but keeping the other pages flat until I've completed my pages. So that is my first one. I'm so happy with that. And for anybody who's interested, I used my scoreboard and I just scored at 1.5 centimetres. The cover was tricky because of course this is double thickness. This one here was no problem at all. So that's how I did it. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I decided to make using this artwork that I made for last week's Let's Get Arty prompt. So glad that I decided to turn it into a little journal. Now, of course, I've got 5 pages left to work on. I'll probably use watercolours again. I was recently sent a watercolour set for my birthday from a friend, and I want to try those out. I also want to try out maybe some of my water-soluble pencils and wax crayons, but I just think 5 is a really manageable, or 6 as I should say, I've just got 5 left. 6 is a really manageable number of pages to work on. Well, I hope this has given you some ideas and inspiration, especially for working with loose leaf pages, and ideas as to how to bind them. I will, of course, leave details of all the products that I've used today in the description box below. None of them are affiliate links, so I don't earn any commission from anything that I'm listing. It's just that, you know, some people do like to know what the products are. But if you've enjoyed today's video, as always, I'd very much appreciate a thumbs up. Do let me know what you think in the comments below, but most importantly, thanks for watching. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.